Hello.
Hi. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good.
Trying to get all my settings fixed. It's never the same on Zoom and Teams.
I
So,
know. I know. I know it.
Good afternoon.
How's it going, Sam?
I can't complain. It's Friday, and I don't have to work in here this weekend, so that's good.
That's good. That's real
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
yeah. How are you getting along?
Not bad. Not bad.
Good.
A lot of things going on, you know.
Yeah,
Lot of stuff going on.
yeah. I can
Busy.
imagine. I
Yeah.
mean, it seems like I just put something out, and then I go just jump over to the next thing. So
Same here. Same here.
it's going to be that way for probably a couple more weeks, or at least till we hit Thanksgiving break. So
job security anyway. It's always
mhm.
like that. It's always real busy right before Thanksgiving. You know,
It
oh,
is.
yeah.
It is.
If you get enough grading done, it'd make December a lot better.
Yes.
So I guess I'm gonna have to lead one of them little groups here soon.
Hi, Sheila.
Hello. Do you mind doing a quick test to make sure that you can share your screen?
I can go ahead and test that out. And okay, how are we looking?
I can see it. Good.
Okay, great. And if it's okay with you, I can leave the slides up.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. And audio is okay.
Yes, for me it is.
Great.
Hey, Cameron, can you also check to make sure that I've turned on the transcript properly? I think I have, but
You have. I see it going and being recorded right now.
okay, thank you.
See a few familiar faces. Dean Baggett, how are you doing, sir?
Dr. Carpenter, excellent ceremony last night.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. Really
Great
enjoyed it.
turnout. Great turnout.
Thank you.
Dr. Carpenter, I've been looking for you up in Lexington. I haven't seen you yet. I'm John Davis from Hopkinsville.
Excellent, John. Great to see you again.
Yeah, same here. Same. I was glad to see you were on the agenda.
I'm happy to be here, and glad we're getting to meet on Zoom. But sorry we haven't crossed paths in Lexington yet.
We will. I every time I see you, your face is clear, so I won't walk by you.
I'm happy to have you here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Let's give it just another minute or two, and then we'll go ahead and get started in case somebody's finishing up another meeting.
Sheila,
Yes.
I'm going to show my face just so others will. If they see some not, they need to show their picture. But once we get started, I'm going to just phase out and just listen.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invitation.
Hi, Jenna. Thanks for being here.
I just sent you a text. This will be great, I know. And very important to the efforts around the state.
Excited about it. You're absolutely right. We need faculty leaders and we need faculty leadership.
Well said.
Well, let's go ahead and get started, everyone. Here we go. I've got two notes for you today. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you spending time with us today. Generally, we ask that you keep your cameras on for virtual sessions. I know one of you has communicated with me that you won't be able to do that. You've got an unexpected family issue going on, so that's fine. But keep them on if you can. And I've mentioned this in email a couple times. But if you are if you'd like to get a head start on your January pre-session work, go ahead and schedule a meeting with a member of your institution's Graduate Profile Academy team. I've got information in email you'll get this afternoon about the items we'd like you to discuss with them. I'll turn this over to Rusty Carpenter and Kevin Dvorak. Gentlemen, proceed.
All right. Thank you, Sheila. And thanks to all of you for being here this afternoon and taking part in the exciting and impactful Faculty Leadership Academy. I've had the opportunity to follow along and to work with Gil and Sheila and Jana and our colleagues at CPE at different points. And congratulations on participating in that program. I'm very excited about it, and I think it's incredibly important as we build the capacity of our faculty leaders across the Commonwealth. My name's Rusty Carpenter. I'm Assistant Provost and Professor of English at Eastern Kentucky University, an Editor-in-Chief of the Journal of Faculty Development, also a Senior Fellow with CPE. And I'm here presenting with my colleague, co-researcher, and friend, Dr. Kevin Dvorak.
Greetings, everybody. Thank you all for inviting me. Yeah, I'm in South Florida right now, Nova Southeastern University, and I always appreciate the opportunity to work with you and chat with you. I hope to see many of you at PedagogiCon at EKU in May. And I'm really excited to talk with you, I guess, for the second year, or my second year of doing this workshop with Rusty. As he mentioned, he is editor-in-chief of JFD. I am the senior editor for JFD. And this kind of opportunity to workshop and to grow our skills as leaders, I think, is just so critical to the work that we do. And again, I'm really happy to have this opportunity with you.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. And again, thanks to Sheila and to Gil, Jana, our colleagues at CPE, not only for the program, but the opportunity to spend some time with you this afternoon. In scrolling through the Zoom room, I think I've had the opportunity to meet many of you in different sessions or meetings, and I'm hoping to get to know you a little bit better within this context as we talk about faculty leadership skills for academic quality and where we are now, but also where we need to go in higher education and across the state as we're moving forward. Kevin and I are excited to work with you and learn so much from the conversations, even building on the work that we did last year. So this session is really a two-part. We designed the first part here as highly interactive. We'll have some opportunities to share some ideas in your mentor groups, and we want to encourage conversation and facilitate those ideas. We encourage you to ask questions, and we'll monitor the chat and the Zoom room here as well. If you'd like to come off mute or put ideas into the chat, we're happy to facilitate those. And then we'll move into what I think will be a very exciting and enjoyable panel that Kevin and I will co-facilitate, that will bring some of these ideas forward, but we'll give you a bit of a different perspective of what this looks like in the roles that we're having the opportunity to serve in right now. First, introduce you to our outcomes for this afternoon. Through this workshop, we'll develop a clear and a working definition of academic quality. Hopefully, each of you have had the time to explore this term at your institution, what academic quality looks like, the ways that you're talking about it, maybe even the language that you're using at your institutions. Each of us here have a lot in common. For many of us, we are in higher education to educate students. And for many of us, we are deeply committed to the academic missions of our institutions. And as faculty, we play a key, even a central leadership role in academic quality. To help us understand that, we'll draw from CPE's definition that was developed collaboratively by colleagues at the CPE and also across our post-secondary institutions. Then we'll examine faculty leadership skills, those skills that we need now as faculty members, and this is an important conversation. Then we'll examine faculty leadership skills that we'll need to ensure academic quality as we go forward. What is this going to look like a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and where do our institutions need to be? The definition of academic quality that we are working with for today as we get started is that of the Council on Post-Secondary Education, focusing on the measurable degree to which an educational experience is coherent, but also, and importantly, engaging and even transformational, ideally transformational for all learners. How do we organize these experiences? How do we connect them within Gen Ed and even programs in the majors? How do we design engaging learning opportunities that are intentional and intentionally address the interests of our students, facilitate active involvement in the processes and learning experiences? But how do we motivate toward academic quality so that our students are prepared to meet academic and also professional goals? So while they're at our institutions and then beyond. I am excited about the conversation and bringing transformation into these discussions as well. I see these as opportunities to change. We can reflect, but we can support students in those transformational experiences that are the reason that so many of us are committed to leadership in our higher education institutions. We can think about the knowledge, the skills, and the perspectives that really help to transform the lives, the ways that our students are thinking, the ways that they're learning, and then setting them up for success once they cross the stage and graduate. Kevin, let me pause there to see if I've overlooked anything, or would you like to highlight anything in the definition that we have from CPE?
I think you've addressed all of it, and I'm excited to learn how people are defining this locally.
Absolutely.
Which leads us to the next slide. So my question for everybody is just that. How are we defining academic quality locally? The CPE does a fantastic job of designing it for the state and for all of the institutions represented here. But we know that that definition means something a little bit different based on the context in which we work. And so thinking along those lines, how are we defining it? And I think right now we can raise our hand, we can talk, we could even drop some messages into the chat, and we could even think about it in terms of coherent, in terms of engaging, in terms of transformational. It doesn't have to be all three at once. If you just want to highlight one way of defining it, that can work as well. We'll get to the leadership and the leadership qualities in just a few minutes. But for this moment, how do you define academic quality at your institution? So you can continue thinking about that for a minute, write some ideas down. We're more than happy to see them shared in the chat, and we can take some comments from you all as well. Thank you, Michelle. Instruction is standards-based. And I'd like that you mention students leave with those skills, and faculty have terminal degrees and are leaders in the field. So we mentioned both students and faculty in that comment.
We're already bringing in the skills, which of course represented in the work that we're doing with the graduate profile.
Another important comment there. Thank you, Michelle. Faculty continue to get professional development. It's not one and done.
Yeah, very important.
Gary, thank you. Oh, and now more and more are coming in. This is great. Oh, Gary, with an example from the catalog. Excellent. From Kentucky State University. Sound liberal studies education. Okay, great. Specialized skills. Again, highlighting the skills. Derived from disciplined study of individual subject matter. Fantastic. They excel in their chosen endeavors. Wonderful. Elizabeth, rigor, relevance, and integrity of the curriculum. Excellent. Effectiveness of instructional methods. Fairness and consistency. Love those two, of evaluation processes. And the extent to which students achieve meaningful and measurable learning outcomes. Wonderful. Deb mentioning SLOs and how they structure the curriculum. All right. Shay, thank you. Reviews and revisions, right? It's an ongoing process. Curriculum and qualifications reflect contemporary practice. Nice, Patrick. Pass rates on exams following degree. Wonderful, Sarah. Right, it's not just the degree and then we're done. Students are successful in obtaining opportunities within the field of study. Thank you, Kenneth. And faculty recognized for scholarly work. I think that goes well with one of the articles that we read for today as well. Academic excellence and workforce prep. Thank you, Ashley. Meeting the needs of industry partners. Wonderful, Rudy. And student success matters using metrics and goals. Again, thank you, Lorna, to track progress. And John, excellence involves excellence in shepherding partnerships that lead to transfer, yes, to employment and lifelong learning. Awesome. Awesome beginning to this. All right, so with this in mind, now, how do we define faculty leadership? And what are some qualities of faculty leadership? What are the things that faculty do to demonstrate that they are leaders in their areas, in their departments on campus? And again, you're all more than welcome to raise a hand and talk, or just drop a comment in the chat. Communication skills.
Skill number one.
Innovation, supporting research outputs, adaptability, Ashley, yes. Initiative on projects that ultimately improve student outcomes. Nice, Karan. Service to the academic community, up-to-date knowledge and skills of industry. Not afraid to serve. Excellent, Michelle. Research and willing to take on additional responsibilities. Lorna, thank you. Active participation, wonderful. Helping, leading others to grow. They're open-minded, active learners, servant leaders. Amy, thank you. Initiate solutions. Oh my God, no, I'm starting to fall behind. Share expertise, Elizabeth, wonderful. Foster collaborative environments. Students and peers can thrive. I like that, Elizabeth. Innovation and pedagogy, John, thank you. Willingness to take risk. Appreciate that. Engagement and ability to connect students. And that seems to be increasingly complicated. Servant leadership. They're willing to discuss ideas with colleagues, share and collaborate to improve teaching, and not afraid to disagree with the status quo. Fantastic, Deb. And investing in student growth. Wonderful. So all of these seem to have a lot in common with each other. And it's that willingness to step up. It's that willingness to challenge, to get others on the same, I shouldn't even say the same mind frame, but get others to communicate with each other. And that as well seems to be increasingly complicated in society right now. That ability to listen and listen patiently, listen actively to others, and to really hear the experiences others are having right now, and to process that without reacting too quickly. and to bring all of that together so that it could lead to potential positive change. And I'm going back to Anne's comment there, that willingness to take that risk. Because a lot of times, as we know as faculty, that willingness to take risk, that might put us at odds with some people who are higher up. And that may be a little bit fearful if we're on tenure track or something along those lines. And that's still necessary, though. It's necessary to do those types of things, to be a leader, to make positive change. So this is outstanding. Thank you all.
And we've been reading a book entitled Whatever It Is, I'm Against It. There is a chapter on innovation and in our focus, we need to be innovative, but the author is also very, very clear that there are some disincentives to innovation. We can innovate iteratively, and we need to as our institutions and as faculty leaders. We need to promote innovation, right? And we can do that in a number of these ways that have come through the chat. All right.
So we are going to move into our first breakout. And in this breakout, we are going to ask the question, what leadership skills do faculty need to ensure academic quality, ... this year, right now? Next year, beginning, that should be fall of 26, in 5 years and in 10 years. So what skills do we need both short-term and long-term? So what can we do in the immediate and what can we do down the road? What skills can we start developing right now or continue to develop and strengthen? What will higher ed look like? What's the higher ed work environment going to look like in Kentucky in a short amount of time from now?
All right, you ready for me to send folks into breakout rooms?
Yes.
All right. All right. I've pre-scheduled you all into these rooms. If I've sent you into the wrong one by mistake, just go ahead and come back out and I'll correct that. Oh. Hold on a second. 5. All right, Hunter, I'm sending you out to Faculty Circle 5.
I was in my group. I don't know how I got back to the main group.
I was gonna say mine did the same thing. It like took me there and then launched me back.
All right, then. Not really sure how to do. Oh, well, move to.
There should be an option at the bottom that says join breakout room for those of that just got removed. If you click that, it should take you back to yours.
Where do we go for that, Cameron? I heard you say it, but I didn't.
It should be on the bottom row, down by more. If you are hovering over the options for like participants chat, it should be on the far right.
I see it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I do not have that option.
Yeah, I don't have that option.
All right. Hunter, I'm assigning you to group 5. So you may be zipping out of here momentarily. Okay, good. I did that part right. All right, Jonathan.
I was supposed to be in group 4, and then I just got kicked out of Zoom when it sent me.
Oh, okay. You may be zipping over there now, Jonathan.
And Sheila, while they're in the breakout rooms, do we want to pause the recording?
Oh, good call. Yes. Thank you. And restart the recording. Oh, you know what? Next time it gives them a 60-second buffer. So next time, if you give me a minute shorter, you'll still get the right time, but you won't lose a minute this way.
Thank you, Sheila.
Hopefully you heard some of that.
Welcome back, everybody. And so we really would like to hear from all of you. And we're going to save the screen sharing. I put the question there in the chat, but we really want to get some discussion going. So would anybody like to begin? You know, what leadership skills do faculty need to ensure academic quality now and in the future? Shay?
I was gonna say, how do you want us to raise our hand?
Go right ahead.
Yeah, so I told a quick story, flexibility, and then somebody else in our group suggested adaptability. Our building flooded over the weekend, and we just completed a renovation of the entire building this semester. And so we've got electronics that are being replaced. We had the poor faculty member whose office was the focal point, lost everything in his office. And everybody had to evacuate a 4-story building for classes and administration and everything, the dean's office. It's all being reworked right now. And we all have had to be flexible and adaptable to make this all work for everybody, you know, including the students, because they've all obviously been relocated as well.
Of course.
Wow, that's tough. And that's that example of we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And we just need to work through it, support one another, and keep moving forward. Yes, very sorry to hear. And I'm sorry, Shay, what institution are you at?
Sorry, Murray State University.
Murray State, excellent. Okay, wow. Well, thank you for starting this off. And anyone else? Or who else?
In our group, we talked about the importance of focusing on general skills, given the fact that, you know, it's hard to bring students in and say, I'm going to train you for this specific job, because for one, jobs are very different from the way they were 5 years ago. And the other point is that students are oftentimes changing jobs very frequently. So instead of focusing on a specific job, focusing on general skills that can be transferable across careers or career paths.
Excellent. Thank you, Kenneth. So general skills, and I think what I heard a little bit in there, you know, about the idea jobs aren't the same, that requires flexibility, that requires adaptability. So building off of what Shay said as well. Others? Michelle?
In our group, we talked a lot about AI in the future and technology. And so my thoughts are that we need to continue to build our soft skills and those human touches, because if they're going to be, they'll go away if we don't maintain those, because we're just so tied to devices and things. So I think soft skills are crucial to the future.
Thank you, Michelle. And actually, at 12:15 today, I gave a half-hour webinar to our research division here about editing and proofreading in the age of AI, and showed colleagues how to use AI well. And I also intentionally showed them the shortcomings of AI and how you still need a human in the loop. You need somebody human to read to ensure that what AI just did is actually correct. It might be very efficient, it might be fast, but it's not always right.
Lorna, looks like you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Russell. We talked about a lot of things, but I'll mention, we talked about mentorship, particularly for newer faculty, and how valuable that can be, especially for, the new faculty in an area to just benefit from having someone directly with whom to ask questions and to benefit from kind of that institutional knowledge that our faculty who have been around for decades can pass on to newer faculty. So I don't know how it was for everybody else, but in my graduate program, I didn't get a class on how this university works. What is higher ed? What's all the other stuff? I was way more worried about getting a job and like just teaching my classes and knowing, where the water fountain was. So I think that some of that one-on-one conversation could be really meaningful in expediting a new faculty member's kind of entrenchment into their new organization.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lorna. And I actually relate that back to the McMurtry article we read and how she even mentions that graduate students don't often get trained in teaching. So where do they learn it? And if we want faculty to be successful, if we value good teaching when they arrive on our staffs, we need to ensure that they are excellent in the classroom. Wonderful. Karan?
All right. Yeah, we talked about the need for emotional intelligence going forward, and the dynamic that younger generations seem to be very much more supportive of each other and have a deeper understanding, or at least awareness of the mental health and emotional challenges that their contemporaries are facing and enduring. And then we had this open question about whether emotional intelligence or empathy, right? Increased empathy was tied to lower resilience, and then kind of how to balance those two going forward.
Did you by chance arrive at any kind of answer to that question?
No, we did not. If we did, we'd probably have a book written by now.
Excellent. Okay. Fascinating. And maybe one more before we move on to question 2. One more.
Ryan's got his hand up.
Ryan.
There we go, Ryan.
So let's end with 3 and 1. How about that, y'all? So from our group, some really good ones. First, a tempered ability to deal with political pressures or impacts or whatever the case may be. I'm sure you all have some political things at your institutions or not. If you don't, please let me know which institution. And I'm sorry. And then the ability, and Michelle already talked about the soft skills with recruitment, overall proficiency with technology, not just AI, but that. Whether it be your LMS, whether it be whatever the case may be, and of course that will increase. But the last piece was particularly poignant: the ability for faculty and institutions, quite frankly, to articulate the value of higher education in these days and the value of faculty. We started talking about AI and what will it do with the faculty role in 10 to 15 years, but then talked about being able as a faculty member to articulate why it's important for the faculty involvement in institutions of higher education. So a lot of good points from that group.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. And thank you all for sharing. And Rusty, I guess you'll take us now into question number 2.
Yes. Let's see. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. We're going to move into our second question here, which builds on our earlier question. We'd like the groups to discuss the top 5 leadership skills aligned with your Clifton Strengths Finders that are needed to ensure academic quality in the future, so moving forward. Draw from your first brainstorm from your earlier session, align with the Clifton Strengths, and we'd like each group to develop a list of those top 5 skills needed. So with that, Sheila, we can set up the breakout rooms again. And
All right.
Looking forward to hearing the ideas.
All right, there you go. Nope. Well, John, can you refresh my memory what faculty circle you're in? Oh, you're muted. Two.
I'm with Gil.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. I think. Okay.
Do we want to pause the recording while they're
Again.
welcome back, everyone? Like we're still waiting on a few more people to join us. How are we doing, Sheila? Looks like we might have everybody.
Yeah, I've been talking to myself. I think we've got everybody.
Excellent. All right. Well, we want to make sure that we're able to hear from each of our breakout groups. So what we've asked everyone to do, or each of the groups, to identify a reporter. We'd also like to ask each group to post their top 5 skills into the chat as well, so that we can archive those and make sure that you have access to them as well. So for each of your reporters, and we're going to start with breakout group 1. Once you come up, yes, I see Renee, you're posting to the chat. You can add your top 5 skills to the chat as we're discussing them. And let's go ahead and get started with, thank you, Ben. And you can go ahead and post them to the chat. But let's go ahead and start with breakout group number 1. Tell us your top 5 leadership skills.
I think that was us. Were we one? Okay, anyway, we'll go. The reality of it is, Rusty, I know you'll be like, really, but we believe we can make a case for every single one of our top skills as being necessary pieces for the future of higher education. Now, we did follow directions in each list, but I think that goes to say it's the ability to articulate, and it goes back to that last question and Dr. Embry's point about being able to communicate the value of faculty towards higher education for the future. But a few pieces, the connectedness piece of it, being able to, that was the first one, being able to connect our students, both alumni, potential students who've been gone for 10 years. But there's an institutional value to that most don't like to talk about, called development, right? But there's also, from a practical standpoint, there's an ability for placements for current students. There's an ability for guest speakers. I mean, there's so many pieces the connectedness brings to you from that. The ability to the arranger piece of it, right? The ability, we were talking about all the resources that a university offers and the ability to be able to arrange and connect those students and faculty, for that matter, to those resources in order to serve the student. It was very specific in our group that this is all about the student, right? So no matter what characteristic we're talking about, it's to push for the student. The ability to for the responsibility piece and the ability, the belief piece, right? So All of these are going to be, and I'll put them all in the chat here in a moment, but all of these are going to be extremely important in different ways. And I think when you expand, that's one of the values and the strengths of the Clifton Strengths piece is when you combine them all together, the different categories, that's what pushes us together as an institution.
Excellent. Thank you, Ryan. I've jotted down a few notes here as well, and feel free to post ideas, responses, and thoughts to the chat as well. Breakout 2.
I was the note taker for breakout 2, so I'll summarize mine pretty clearly. We actually, students didn't come up in our conversation. I don't think that's an indictment against our focus, but we're really focused on kind of that preparing for the future thing and thinking about the two. You can see my list in there that we came up with, but the two that really stood out are the first and last one: communication, over communication, and then strategy or strategic thinking. And we coupled those two together to talk about, we spent a lot of time talking about consensus building among our colleagues and how deliberative that process has to be. And Lorna very wisely said, sometimes that's annoying because we have a vision for what the future should look like, and to get other people on board with that vision takes a lot of effort and time. And so it's just worth thinking about what kind of communication is necessary for that to happen. So that was so it's not really true that we didn't talk about students, but that wasn't our priority. It was about thinking what's the future hold and who knows, and that kind of builds on the conversation we had in the first breakout, where we were really focused on kind of how do we future-proof our profession and prepare people to be valuable contributors now and going forward.
Excellent. Thank you, Gil. All right, breakout 3.
I think for our group, we sort of took that same or similar approach when it comes to faculty leadership in general for the future, because if we're focusing on the faculty, of course, we're capturing the students. If we're focusing on leadership, we're also empowering faculty. And we really wanted to cheat and just say the 4 domains of team strengths was all encompassing. But if we were forced to pick the top 5, it would have to be adaptability. And these are things that we talked about that sort of continue to rise to the top under the domains: adaptability, communication, consistency, analytical, and relator.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, group 3. All right, moving on to group 4.
I'm going to say that might be us. I'm not really sure what our group number is, but I'm going to go with it. So we got together and we were, really tossing up, is it my top 5? Is it your top 5? Let's collaborate. Let's come together and do a little bit from everybody. And then we had a person who we weren't really hitting any of theirs. So I think there's exemplars, like we can narrow it down to 5, but we know a leader can be great with any kind of qualities as long as they are doing the right thing. But what we came down with was communication, collaboration. And I think that that allows you to build trust with the team that you are leading or the people that you're leading. Our discipline, I combined it with learner. We did combine it with learner, I'm sorry, because that drives excellence, right? And you want excellence to be the norm, I think, when you're running something or leading something. And then, of course, flexibility, adaptability, and we added in there change agility. I think if you're flexible and adaptable, you can set the tone for how stable your program is, or your whatever division or whatever you're leading, right? Because without stability, you don't really, it's always rocky, and that isn't good for your people. Empathy, I think that creates a feeling that you value your employees. I think that you're going to value the people that you are leading. And obviously you can't go anywhere if you don't have any strategic thinking, right? How are you going to move forward if you're not a strategic thinker? So that's what we came up with.
Thank you, Renee. Excellent. Group 5.
The benefit to being group 5 is that I can simply just say, yeah, our conversations were pretty much like everybody else's. Now, what was interesting about us, and I posted it out, we had input, developer, learner, relationship, strategic, and the bonus was individualization. But as we discussed these, we discussed them in really two ways: how we receive, and then how we message or how we share. So if you're the one who is facilitating the development of others, then how are you receiving that input? How are you as a learner, and then how are you ensuring that others are learning? And so really, if you want to tie all of it in, it's that ability to be individual, that individualization ability. But that's, in a nutshell, we share the same as the other 5 groups or the other 4 groups.
The challenge and the benefit of being group number 5 in this case. Excellent. Still a number of excellent ideas, and take a look through the chat and think about some of the threads that you're observing here, some of the commonalities, but also, I mean, we have some pretty ambitious lists in the chat too, which is really exciting for the work that you're doing in the Faculty Leadership Academy. We're going to compile the lists from the chat, and we'll build on them moving forward. And so this will not be the last time that you see these skills, but this will allow us to build some conversation around these, and to continue to work with them, and to think about ways that they can be implemented at your institutions as well. I'm going to shift back over to the screen here. I should be sharing screen because we're going to give you a bit of homework and a reflection opportunity as well. Kevin?
So, thinking about what we've discussed today, we are going to ask everyone to develop a working faculty leadership philosophy. And we've given a framework for using that, or for writing this. And so you can just have 3 sentences using the language below. And that could be: my philosophy for faculty leadership involves, and just continue on with that. As a faculty leader, I strive to do what? What are the connections you want to make? What are the changes you strive for? And my goals as a faculty leader are to do what? And for these, you can use specific language or examples from the Clifton Strengths. And do note, though, this is simply a work in progress. We've provided these 3 sentence starters for you. You don't have to adhere to them. You can use AI as an assistant if you want to put it in to generate even more ideas. As I mentioned during the break, when you were all in breakout sessions, I did a workshop today for my institution on AI, and it can be pretty easy and fantastic to help develop ideas for a philosophy like this. But again, 3 sentences, develop your philosophy, and also expand on the article, The Real Work of Department Chair, and think about how might faculty leaders reframe this work. This work's now about 23 years old. What ideas from it still prevail? What changes have happened? And thinking about the question we had earlier, what skills are relevant now? What might be in the future? So we look back to this piece and see how focused the author was on problem solving. And so we can think about that in terms of 2002. We can think how those ideas are still relevant in 2025, and what might we need in the future.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin. So you'll have access to this. We'll make sure to share it out with everyone as well. So you might have taken some notes, but you'll have access to this so that you can build on it and work on it soon. I'll stop sharing there. We are going to move into and build on this workshop through a panel discussion focused on academic quality and preparing faculty for the future. we're very fortunate to have an esteemed group of panelists today, and you've met me, you've met Kevin. I would like to introduce our other panelists this afternoon and ask them to share their name, title, and their institution as well. So Renee, we'll start with you.
I'm Renee Ikes, and I am the Dean of Nursing and Associate Professor at Jefferson Community and Technical College. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, Renee. And next, Justin.
Hi, I'm Justin Yates. I am a professor and chair of the Department of Psychological Science at Northern Kentucky University. I participated in the Leadership Academy last year.
Excellent. Thank you, Justin, and thank you for being here and sharing your thoughts and expertise and experience through the panel. And Ashley.
Hi, I'm Ashley Smallwood. I'm an associate professor of anthropology and chair of the department. I was also in this crew last year. I'm happy to be here. I'm at the University of Louisville.
Excellent. Thank you, Ashley. And we can try to set up the Zoom room a bit. Do we want to pin or spotlight the panelists, or have we set that up?
I think you all are pinned. According to my screen, you all, the 5 of you are pinned. So if Ben, you're the first one I can see. Ben, do you see the panelists pinned to the side at the top of the screen?
I do not.
Huh. Well, apparently I'm just pinning it. Do you have a suggestion, Rusty?
I do not.
So I don't know if it's the same way in Zoom, but on Teams, there's an option where you can go up to each individual person and pin it for everybody, but that may be different in Zoom.
Oops. All right. Hold on just a second. I just figured it out.
KCTCS is Teams, so when it comes to Zoom, I'm out of my realm.
All right. So now I'm going to spotlight people, not pin.
Spotlight.
All right. Is this looking better, everyone?
Yep.
I think so.
Start to see them.
Yeah, that seems to work.
Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Sheila. We'll go ahead and start with our panel. And Kevin will lead us off with the first question. We'll also post the questions to the chat. And before we get started, we want to encourage you to add ideas, add thoughts, add additional questions to the chat as well. We'd like for the chat to be interactive. Kevin and I will monitor, and we'll pull those ideas into the conversation as we post them as well. Kevin?
Thank you, Rusty. And also, because we have a lot of questions and not a lot of time, we are not going to have all 3 panelists required to answer each of the 3, but who knows where the conversation will go. But first question number 1 is, what leadership skills or competencies do faculty need to ensure academic quality at their institutions? And I believe Justin and Ashley, you are definitely going to answer this question.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm cheating because listening to everyone speak today, my number 1 that I filled out was already discussed multiple times. And Renee, you actually spoke on this just a few minutes ago. I talked a lot about, or like when I thought about this, the first thing that popped up was flexibility and adaptability. Those are the first 2 words I wrote down. Part of the reason is education is just rapidly changing. We have a lot of technological innovations right now. Like we talked about AI, Kevin, the AI talk you gave earlier. We have something at NKU, like we have our Center for Excellence in Teaching Innovation, and AI has definitely become a major discussion point. How do we incorporate AI into the classroom? How do you train students to use it ethically and responsibly? It is a skill set that they need to use. There are some faculty that are highly opposed to using AI, but the idea is like, it's not going away. How do you adapt and utilize this to your advantage? in addition to that is student expectations seem to be changing as well. Historically, we think of students going into higher education because this love of learning. Now, certain institutions, there seems to be a shift where students are like, I have to get my degree because my employer expects it. Like, I want to get a pay raise. So now it's like, I'm paying you a lot of money to go to school. I expect to earn this grade, or I expect to earn this diploma. So this goes back to the graduate profile, like what skills can we provide these students that they can take into a career while still giving them, excellent education. And then also just at a wider lens is just a lot of the societal changes. We look at the government, the political nature, the climate. You think about the kind of the attacks on education, the funding issues that are going on. There are a lot of schools that are dealing with funding. So how do we change, or how do we adapt to all these demands that are being thrown at our way? And so then another thing that came to me was this idea of perspective. Comes from my own just kind of reflection on my career. So I didn't enter academia thinking I was going to go into a leadership role like a department chair. I don't know how many people set out to do that. I get my doctorate. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do psychology, neuroscience research, and teach these classes. But over time, it's just I was part of the faculty senate, and the former chair really started talking to me about 2 years before her term ended, just to really train me up into this role. But as faculty, it gets really easy to get lost in kind of like the aspirational, like, hey, I'm in education because I want to teach, and like I'm trying to have these students learn. But there are also a lot of logistical concerns and just pragmatic things. Like with a college, there is a business aspect. We have to make sure we're economically viable. So what ways can we increase tuition or like get enrollment while still achieving this goal of educating our students? So there is this intricate balance between, the goals of educating students while keeping your institution afloat and getting money in. So it's really made me kind of think differently about education in this role. And then finally, not to take too much time, another thing is just willingness to seek out info. Like I teach research methods in our program. So if we think about education, there are a lot of resources available to us about just education, like pedagogy. There are some that are field specific. So psychology, we have the Teaching of Psychology journal. There are wider journals and networking. So this program right here is great because it's a way to network with people, within and outside your institution to just discuss things like this. Like how do we adapt to the changing landscape?
Excellent. Thank you, Justin. And Ashley?
Very similar thoughts. Faculty leaders, I think, have to have a real clear, big picture vision of the role of their unit in the university. For me, I'm in a smaller department, anthropology. So a lot of my role in the university is supporting the core classes. So I have to keep those courses strong. So as chair, I have to be able to prioritize teaching and to be an advocate for quality teaching. So faculty can become, and this way too, become kind of easily siloed in their research subjects. So as a leader, you have to be able to bring faculty back to have collaborative conversations about skills and the knowledge we want students to take from our classes and kind of work together, facilitate building a curriculum together. I've heard this point also from many today. We have to be really strong advocates for our units. Again, at the chair level, that means advocating for support, resources that help faculty have teaching excellence, maybe through giving a faculty member space to develop a new course, giving them funding for lab equipment, connecting them to workshops or communities for teaching. And then finally, just to kind of look at this other perspective, excellence in teaching is really important, but I also think it's really important for faculty leaders to stay connected to their research and to support faculty in research. I really don't see those at odds at all. I think, faculty who have active research agendas are often some of the best teachers. They're plugged into the discipline trends. They have research networks in place for student opportunities. So I try to advocate for faculty to keep those research ties, and I'm trying real hard to keep mine as a faculty leader.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah, sorry, real quick, just piggyback. Even as a department chair, I have my own research agenda. Like I have undergraduate students I mentor. I have a postdoctoral fellow. It is, I wear multiple hats, and juggling that can be really difficult, but I'm passionate about my research. I have a grant through the NIH, and so it's like leading by example, like, hey, I value this, and I teach a class on top of the administrative work, but yeah.
Agreed completely. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Justin, and thank you, Ashley. We'll move into our second question here. I just posted it to the chat. Beyond traditional student evaluation metrics, how should institutions redefine and measure academic quality in an era emphasizing personalized learning, career readiness, and demonstrable student impact? Justin, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, so when I thought about my education journey, a lot of what my classes focused on was summative assessment. It's just like rote memorization. You make flashcards, you read the book, and then you're given a multiple choice exam or even like some essay exam. But really, now there's a shift to having students do something. Like they're going to create something, or they're going to get experiential learning. So like going out into the community or going into a research lab or an art studio. It's just getting them to do something to develop these skills firsthand that they can then take after they graduate and, actually utilize it in a career, like a job setting or a career setting. So I wrote a lot of things here, so I'll try to keep it brief. So the idea is like, if you want them to develop marketable skills, you need to actually give them the experiences to like fine tune those skills. Or if we talk about research, like we have a research methods class, we'll have them actually do research, like collect data, learn to analyze data, have them present their data so that it helps them develop their communication skills, it helps them develop their critical thinking skills, their writing skills. Now, on the other hand, we talk about pragmatic, that could be difficult when class sizes continue to increase. So how do you balance this? Like we could once again say, yeah, every class you should have, writing intensive courses, or they're all doing research, but that can be difficult. So this is a point I'll come back to like in one of the other questions. But we can provide our students really great firsthand experiences. Like, so I mentioned research, a lot of schools, we have the internship or practicum where they can go out into the community and just get that real world experience. It helps boost their resume or their CV, or even just, some courses have the course-based undergraduate research experience, so a CURE. So that's a really nice way to get students those firsthand skills. What else I write? And then even some, they have like philanthropy, community engagement. So I'll just use NKU. We have the Meyerson Student Philanthropy Project that's embedded in a lot of our gen ed courses. So students that are like freshmen, sophomores, they get to learn about philanthropy, like how does that work? And then they apply it to a course that they're taking. So it's kind of like trying to move away from just pure summative assessment and trying to incorporate more formative assessment and just experiential learning, because that will help kind of target multiple aspects of the Kentucky graduate profile at once.
Excellent. Thank you, Justin.
And moving along, we're now going to hear from Ashley again. And Ashley, your question is actually going to build into Renee's question. How should institutions define academic quality in the context of a rapidly evolving higher ed landscape?
Yeah, I kind of took this as student perceptions of academic quality, because now more than ever, we have a demographic cliff. We have, the need to find and increase our student body in different creative ways. So I believe there's been a shift in how students perceive academic quality, and institutions are kind of increasingly recognizing this and responding to the change. There's an emphasis now, a shift toward how that content is delivered. Students really are no longer satisfied with being passive observers of the learning process. So, academic quality now needs to be closely tied to transforming learning through instructional approaches to provide, active engagement. And that's a term that we're all really familiar with. I'm sure we've heard it, but now it seems like institutions, I know U of L was really investing in faculty development to help instructors bring these methods to life in the classroom. So, team-based, problem-based, collaborative learning environments. These are all just ways that now we can kind of operationalize what students are looking for, and that's just engagement and the act of doing in the classroom. We also need to really promote those applied experiences, because I've heard from our students and across U of L, those opportunities that go beyond the classroom, those are incredibly effective for student learning. They are now kind of giving us the complete coherent academic experience. Those approaches also are just, helping students meaningfully connect with the content, and they're helping with retention. And I don't know if this is a problem at your universities, but this is the big challenge for U of L right now, is retention to graduation. So students, I think overall are just more acutely aware of the competitiveness of the job market, and they understand that high quality education needs to extend beyond just mastery of content. They see the value in opportunities that they're applying the knowledge in practical settings, and we need to keep helping them do that. And that needs to be a part of academic quality as we define it as an institution.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. We have to talk about AI, because that's part of any panel or leadership discussion or discussion about teaching in and across higher ed. So here we go. We'll try to not occupy the rest of the panel with the AI discussion. However, how might AI impact how we view academic quality in higher education? A really timely question. Renee?
I do think everybody can touch on this. And I'm coming in with a perspective from a technical program, a nursing program, kind of. So I don't have that lens of, an English program, you may feel like AI can diminish the quality of the academic, the academic quality. But I don't view it that way. I think academic quality can be, we can transform it with AI, right? Like it can actually transcend, right? We have instructors using AI to build case studies, do learning in the classroom. And I think how we can align it where we don't diminish academic quality is that we teach our students how to be ethical with AI, right? Ethical, teach them integrity, how to use it and use it as a tool. And I think many colleges have jumped on board. I don't think anybody's behind in this, tailoring assignments to incorporate AI, because I do think it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere, and we shouldn't view it as an enemy, because it's not. It really can help. I think AI also, I think that students tend to outsource a lot to AI, but we can rein that back in the classroom by, like I said, tailoring our assignments where they can incorporate AI. I'm not so much relying on those summative assessments, but more critical thinking, reflection, simulation-based in nursing, obviously competency-based, performance-based, assessments. I just think that you have to have an open mind with it. And I think it's getting everybody on board with that, to know that it won't diminish your academic quality. If you learn it and you are able to teach the students to use it, that you can really enhance learning in the classroom.
And Renee, can I piggyback off of you for just a second?
Please do, yeah.
So, and you've heard me rant about AI at different meetings and stuff. But even there's a handful of CIT professors who are teaching our introduction to computer courses, and we've implemented an AI day into those courses. So we go through and show students, this is how you can do research with AI, and here's how you use it as a tool and not just to do your work for you. So I think Jefferson in general and many other institutions across the state, if we can all get in line with how do we show them to use it as a tool versus just doing the work for you, it'll be a whole lot better use for them.
I agree.
I think that's an outstanding point. And I also think this is a wonderful opportunity about midway through the questions that we have listed to open up the discussion briefly to everybody. If you'd like to, or if you have a question that's formulating right now about the first half of this, or if you have any comments about AI, we all do, or questions about it, this would be a good time to add them to the chat or just raise hand and let's talk. And thank you for that, Brandon. I think that was you, right?
Sorry, I was having to find my
Was
unmute
it?
button.
Okay.
Yes, that was me.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that, so I'm the curriculum chair for ADN curriculum in the community college KCTCS system. And we are moving to one common curriculum. So we're doing a lot of curriculum alignment. And we are actually using AI to help us. Now we have to double check things because, nursing has a model framework and a philosophy and we're guided by certain things, but it really can help you to enhance the way, it really does enhance your writing, and our, end of learning outcomes, our programmatic outcomes. It's really simplifying those for us so we don't get, you guys remember in school when you had to write, okay, you're going to turn in 6 program learning outcomes or EPSLOs. But for me personally, that was the hardest thing, trying to write it measurable, reasonable. And I think AI is really helping us formulate a curriculum that students can understand, and I personally will use some AI if I have to send a student response and I don't want it. I'll be like, make this sound non-retaliatory. You know what I mean? Like if I have a student complain or something, like, please make this sound supportive and non-retaliatory. Because, sometimes you're reading it, but it's like that second eye on something.
To that point, Renee, I have led a bunch of AI related workshops here. And at a recent one, I shared with my colleagues an article from Washington Post, 1985, about faculty attending the National Council of Teachers of Math convention in Washington, D.C., and they staged a protest. They staged a protest against the usage of calculators in the classroom.
Oh, wow.
And they were frustrated, of course, and they were afraid of the future. And now calculators, for those of you who haven't taken the SAT recently, and I don't think many of us have, calculators were apparently allowed in the SAT room. Like, wow, how far we have come from protesting with our little picket signs to now one of the most important tests, our students take. They're even allowed to have that as part of the test taking process. Fascinating. And I think that's where we are now with AI.
I definitely believe it's okay to use resources. I think where the critical thinking comes into play and how we can teach our students is, do they know how to use those resources, right? So it's okay, use whatever resource you need to do to do and understand it. But you're demonstrating the critical thinking to me when you know exactly how to use those resources. And for whatever it's worth, I do think they are still students. We are still learning, even though we're typing in something, trying to get output. That's still a learning process. And I just think people I think we need to open up our minds, like the mind's like a parachute, right? It only works when it's open, honestly. So we have to be more open to that and not so judgmental. And I think what I see a lot of too, I want to add this, is I see faculty where AI, because I'm sure I'm guilty of it at some point, working through a dissertation now, and people are getting their masters very quickly and things, using tools like AI doing it. I think our older faculty have to let go of, well, this is not the way I did it. Like, I think that's a lot of mentality in faculty. Well, I did it this way, or when I was in college, or when I got my master's, this is how we did it. And there was no AI. Okay, but it's here now. Let's use it. Let's incorporate it. Let's be great. Let's teach these people how to be great,
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. I think that leads now to a segue for the next question. And the next question will be for Ashley and Renee. So, what strategic competencies will faculty leaders need to cultivate to ensure academic programs remain relevant and rigorous?
Leaders need to stay connected with stakeholders and employers outside of the university. They need to have their finger on the pulse of the industry, the careers in their discipline, and then they need to be able to have that information and then come back and communicate it to faculty, so they can have this collective initiative to do the important things that we'll have to do continually, and that's redesign curriculum to include new things like new methods-based classes, internships, applied experiences. So they just have to have that connection. They also have to be able to communicate it to the administration. So keeping it relevant and making sure that we get the resources we need for things like strategic hires, facilities, equipment that's required to keep with those industry trends. I'm the chair of a small a department that's kind of 15 faculty, and it's a small major, 100 or so majors. So I'm very aware that I have to make very clear to my dean that I have a consistent call from trained professionals in the field, and they consistently need our students, and I need to keep communicating those success stories about our graduates going straight to career. I have to be the cheerleader that says we're here, we're relevant, and I have to make sure I stay connected to the employers.
Yeah, most of what Ashley said, I had to curriculum innovation, keeping your ears to the ground to see what your community partners are wanting, making sure that our students are workforce ready on on either side, technical, general education side. One thing that we brought up in the small groups we talked about was data-driven decision making, right? And having the wisdom to know what data is relevant to make the changes. And so what had come up was like student evaluations. If you're changing those based on what a person in our group said, if you're keep changing those based on student evaluations, are we really doing anything? So kind of taking a look at what data you can use to drive change, and then being modern enough to survive the times. Because one of the questions here was what can a leader expect in 5 years and in 10 years? And I said, I don't know what I can expect in 10 years, because the way it's going right now, the landscape, it is like, when I describe the landscape of higher ed, what I think of is like Niagara Falls, like eroding away. Do you know what I mean though? It changes. Like the students we had 2 years ago are completely different from the students that are entering into college now. And I think that the human tendency is to want to just cringe and be like, oh, we got to mold them back to this way. But we don't need to do that, right? We need to embrace them, and we need to adapt and be modern enough to survive the times that are coming for us. So I think that is what I would add on to Ashley.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. So we're going to move in a bit of a different direction with the next question, to focus on faculty leadership and also the ways that faculty leadership contributes to the alignment with our institutional mission. Before we get to that question, Shay. I saw your idea in the chat. Well, I do think we need to adapt to our students. They also need to adapt to what's actually needed in their industry. Shay, would you like to come off mute and talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. I think that Renee was definitely right. We do have a very different type of student that's coming in now. My area is equine science, so we have a lot of students coming in that want to work with horses. And the first thing I tell them is horses have no money, so they can't pay your bills. And then these students think that, they went to summer camp one time, and so they're going to be the next best trainer and, have the next Derby winner or something like that. And so we do have to adapt to these students that are coming in with less and less real experience in our industry, but they also have to know that while I don't ever want to tell a student you can't do this thing, they have to be realistic about their expectations. But I think sometimes we have to be able to help them understand what's realistic for the industry that they're trying to go into. So yes, we do need to change how we're doing things to keep up. I'm a full supporter of AI and its use because I agree it's not going away. We have to teach them how to use it right, ethically, how to come up with the correct answers. But then they also need to understand that they can't move the world with just this one thought process. They have to figure out how to meet us halfway.
Absolutely, Shay. Excellent points and ideas, especially in thinking about our context. Many of you are going to your institutions, you're leading initiatives, you're engaged in conversations focused on AI and also curriculum and academic quality. It's that now is the time that we need to bring people together to work through these ideas. And our students, I had a conversation last night with several colleagues. We need to be attentive to where our students are when they're coming to our institutions, but also help them see the range of possibilities and how we can support them in getting where they need to go. All right. So building on that earlier question on faculty leadership and alignment with institutional mission, Justin, can you talk us through your ideas for that question?
I will do my best. This one I had to think about a lot just because if we think about, institution-wide, there are so many moving pieces, right? There are a lot of decision makers. You have upper administration, you have the provost, you have the president, you have the board of regents. A lot of them will try to shape what the future is or what our focus is. This kind of goes back to what I talked about earlier. It's trying to combine the aspirational with the logistics, right? The president, their goal is like, how do we bring money in? How do we increase enrollment? But if we think about the faculty level and how we can help align the mission, and this goes back to Ashley, what you talked about is like advocacy, right? So faculty need to be able to advocate to upper administration, to other stakeholders about, what are the best ways that we can educate our students while trying to accomplish what upper administration is doing. So it does take a lot of collaboration for sure. But faculty, also need to be engaged. Like there are committees on campus, like for example, NKU, we have something called TEAC. So it's Teaching Effectiveness and Enhancement Committee. There's the Faculty Senate, other subcommittees where we can really try to use our voice to talk about, like, for example, in psychology, I know the field better than other individuals that are outside of psychology. So what are the best ways to teach and train our students to go into this field? Realistically, a lot of our undergrads are not going to be a clinical psychologist seeing patients. A lot of them are going to go into more of the business field like human resource management. So what are the skills they need to develop to get them to that point or to help them get into graduate school to get to that position? It's important for me and my colleagues to have these discussions with upper administration. So like me meeting with my dean, Ashley, you're a chair as well. So having the conversations with dean, Renee, you are a dean. So you've had discussions with chairs and then, probably provost above you. So it's definitely a huge machine. So then on the flip side, I also answered this question from the perspective of like an upper administrator, like, what do they need to do? And part of it's listen to your faculty. Like you have individuals at the institution that are experts in certain areas, experts in pedagogy. We have centers for teaching effectiveness. So listen to them. If you have an open forum and invite faculty and staff, like make sure you actually listen to their input, because we're all trying to work together. We talked about silos. It's really easy to get kind of lost in what you're doing and miss the big picture. Like we are an institution. There are a lot of different units. There's different departments that have very different, like just goals or just career paths and so forth. So yeah, that question was probably the hardest for me to answer because it's so multifaceted, and it really does require teamwork and just advocacy and collaboration. And there's difficult discussions. I've had to have difficult talks with my dean. Luckily, I have a good relationship with her, but I've definitely had to advocate for my department because there's been a big push like, oh, increase students in this class. And it's like, well, something's got to give. It's like, how do I still get these best practices in education when my faculty are teaching a 4-4 load and they're serving on 10 committees and they have their own research going on? We have to reinforce this, if you want someone to develop new pedagogical tools in their classroom, you have to give them the time to do so. So what are ways that we can incentivize faculty to develop a new course or to reinvent or, redesign their course? Is there a reassigned time we can give them? Is there a small stipend we can give them? So it's definitely, you have to reinforce the faculty to do these things that you want them to do.
Thank you, Justin. A lot of important points, and I appreciate the questions that you're asking, because these questions we can take back to our institutions. We can use those to think about and even to plan for our next conversation. As we're talking about the leadership that we need, where we are as faculty leaders, who we need to be in the moment as faculty leaders, in ways that we can contribute to that alignment of our institutional mission. And many institutions are having conversations that are exactly what you're saying. We're having to talk about and be mindful of enrollment. We're having to be mindful of enrollment compared to revenue. I know you're going to have some sessions about these topics. So as you approach those sessions, listen to them, and use these questions, develop these lenses, because they're absolutely critical to the conversations. You also highlighted something I think is incredibly important right now, and as we're talking about alignment with our mission, we're talking a lot about communication, how we're communicating. And those of you who are in the chair role or maybe aspire to the chair role will be working alongside deans and academic leaders across areas of academic affairs or maybe faculty affairs. And our institutions are largely organized into departments and colleges, and we have, in many cases, longstanding structures in place. How do we communicate the needs when we're seeing silos, and we're seeing communication slabs, or where communication is not flowing? How do we, as leaders, continue to promote good collaboration, good communication in a climate where we're navigating a lot of changing circumstances? AI is one, and the other considerations are significant for many leaders, but are becoming more prominently discussed among faculty, whereas that might not have been the case recently or years ago. Justin, thank you. All right, we'll move into our next question here. And again, feel free to come off of mute or post to the chat. Kevin?
Thank you, Rusty. And so this one is going to be for you, Renee. If I can post it. There we go. How can faculty leadership be leveraged to navigate accreditation, assessment, and continuous improvement processes?
So I'm going to be honest, I picked this question because I had a Kentucky Board of Nursing site visit to one of my campuses a couple weeks ago. I am in the middle of initially accrediting our practical nursing program, and then next week we are in SACS accreditation. So all the accreditation bodies, right? So I was like, I'm gonna talk about this because I've learned a lot in this process. I have been a dean for 4 years, and when I came on that first semester as dean, I did a re-accreditation for associate degree nursing. And when we talk about accreditation, we're talking about quality, right? So once we're an accredited program, that means we have quality education. We're meeting the standards of, say, I'm just going to talk about nursing because that's what I talk about. We have a high quality, meeting all the regulations and the rules of a nursing program. So I think with navigating this with accreditation, what it's really taught me is, so like I had mentioned, I am in the middle of initially accrediting a practical nursing program, and the faculty in that program have taught no more than 3 years. Okay. So I think it serves as a good time to teach literacy about accreditation to our faculty, right? Because this is a new process for them. So I don't want to say hand holding, but it's a learning process for me, but it's learning together collaboratively. And sometimes when I give feedback, I always say, like, I'm not the expert on this. And so while I think maybe we have 2 campuses, you should separate out the campuses. If you feel like writing it all together is better, then let's go with your ideas. You know, let's go with the way you want to write it. And I think this is where the discipline in leadership comes into play to do this. I think that when you strengthen assessment literacy with our faculty, they understand the program better, and they can see the outcomes of the program. We can work together to see what data is needed, right? Because we translate the standards into actually programmatic outcomes. What can we do better? How can we be of more quality? How can we raise our academic standards and make sure we are meeting our workforce, our employer needs? So I think accreditation is important. I think as a leader, you got to model what you're doing. So like I said, the discipline comes in. It's something that you work on. Before you go for accreditation, you have to go to candidacy, and it took like a year to write a candidacy study. So it's a lengthy process, but I think, like I said, the discipline, but the collaboration with the faculty, building that trusting environment and involving them in the process really helps them to understand, I would like to say, your purpose. Why are we here?
Thank you, Renee. And for you to be right in the middle of that in this moment and to still be here today is a wonderful testament to your leadership. And thank you. Thank you for doing that. And, you know, I'll actually add to your comments. You mentioned that SACS will be there soon. And I have been fortunate enough to be part of our own institutional accreditation processes here. To the point where I'm now a reviewer for SACS.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And on site. And I highly, highly recommend to everybody in this room, if you can get involved in SACS accreditation or SACS COC, accreditation. It is such dynamic professional development, just to put it that way, because there are the 14 standards. And as part of the reviewing team, you have to listen to and learn about each of them. You might not be reviewing each of them, but you will hear conversations about each of them and how they really form the building blocks of what institutions can do and how institutions operate differently. And so much of that has, taught me, oh, that's why we do this. And that's why we do that. Not even from my own institutional perspective, but seeing how other institutions, questioning how other institutions, looking at how they do these things. And it's just so fascinating. And I bring that down then more locally to you in nursing, having your own field, having an accreditation requirement, your own program. And not every major, every discipline has something like that. So if you could even get, if your program or discipline has that accreditation, getting involved with that too is just so powerful.
It's funny that you say that, because we do have a lot of people in the system that do go on these site visits for the nursing program. And after going through an accreditation, I'm like, I don't know if I could go in there, because sometimes it feels like KBN's on site, we're here to help, but then it's like they're digging through your it feels like they're digging through your pantry. You know what I mean? And I only say that analogy because when I started doing this with our faculty, I said, look, they already know we buy bread. They want to know the type of bread, what time we bought it, where we bought it, how much it was. Is it a half loaf? Is it a full loaf? So like we're painting this canvas, and that's really what accreditation is doing. But isn't it beautiful if everybody gets together to paint the canvas, and then you look at the artwork that you've, like, seriously, like, so that's what I think. But I think it's hard to go in, like you said, you're a creditor. I'm like, man, because like you like them, but you hate them. Because they're coming in telling you, they're holding you accountable for what you say you're doing. And sometimes you may not be doing it up to the standard that you need to be doing it. Not because you're taking shortcuts, but by you just don't know, So I tell you what's really odd that's happening. We are a system of 16 colleges, and our practical in the state of all nursing programs in the state of Kentucky have to be accredited by next July. So a lot of our practical nursing programs in the system were not accredited, but we are all on the same curriculum. But sometimes I feel like it's subjective because you have different accreditors coming in, and it should be pretty standard across the system, right? 16 colleges, the same curriculum. The modality is different, right? Like what kind of activities, how much you're doing. But for the most part, you're teaching a nurse to be a nurse. And I'll tell you some of the feedback coming out. One college gets it right here. And the college that's doing the same thing, they're saying that this is not right. So we're having some debates at system, like, what's going on here? Like, is it really subjective? Is it the mood of the person that comes in to have you piss somebody off? So accreditation is great, but sometimes it makes you cringe too. Just being honest.
I think 31 other participants in this room agree with that. All right. Thank you, Renee. Rusty?
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Renee. I posted our next question to the chat and want to provide a brief introduction. The Kentucky Graduate Profiles, this is an initiative that you're likely very familiar with. Hopefully you're very familiar with it. It outlines the 10 essential skills, for example, communication, discussed some of these, civic engagement, and that all of the post-secondary graduates should be capable of not just demonstrating, but also articulating to potential employers. When leading in place as a faculty member, what strategies can you use to help students develop those kinds of transferable skills and intentionally connect them to their academic programs? Justin, we'll start with you.
So as like an individual faculty, anytime I can get the students to create something or to design something or execute something, that's going to help them develop actionable skills, like our concrete skills. So I'll give an example. I teach it's a class called Learning and Behavior. So essentially like principles of Pavlovian and operant conditioning. This course usually has about 40 students in it. This goes back to what's pragmatic, and we think about workload, and yes, you could say every single student has to design their own experiments and create that. That's really difficult to oversee for 40 different people. Now at larger schools, they may have 300 students in the class. So it's like, that's not feasible. So one thing I did is I attended a workshop that was held by our Center for Excellence in Teaching Innovation. And it was like, here are different high impact practices. You know, you're going to join a group and learn about one. And so I challenged myself and I joined the one about collaborative based learning, because as a student, I hated group projects. Hated it as a student. It was like the worst thing in the world to me. So I said, you know, it's a high impact practice. How can I incorporate it? So in my learning class, and I've started doing this for other classes, is they do a collaborative research project. So they work in groups of 4. So from a pragmatic standpoint, or, you know, I'm not grading 40 individual projects. I'm grading, you know, maybe 10. That's more manageable, but it forces students to, one, work in teams, which is an important skill. They have to disseminate the results of their project at the end of the semester. So they have to work on their communication skills, and they have to sit down and read some research and figure out how to actually design an experiment related to learning that they can feasibly, you know, conduct in the span of a few weeks. So they have to think critically about what it is that they're doing. So this allows me to kind of tap into several of these skills simultaneously while still trying to manage my workload in a realistic way. So it's kind of like, oh, how do we do this feasibly? And that's always a difficult question. And so other disciplines, you know, I think of nursing, there is a lot of applied experience that these students get. They get firsthand training, which is obviously they need to know how to do this so they can go out and execute their job. But it's like in other programs, there are ways to get students experience. I think of like Department of History, students can do like internship and get that applied experience working at a museum or somewhere in their community. I mentioned earlier about the Meyerson Philanthropy Project we have at NKU. So it's a way to incorporate service learning into a course that an individual faculty member can oversee, and they work with their students. So yeah, it's how could you leverage these high impact practices instead of just having students, you know, sit in a desk, you know, just absorb information. They just try to retain it long enough that they can just regurgitate it on an exam and then just forget it as soon as they're done with the class. Like, what are things that we can do? Now we don't expect them to, they're not going to remember every single thing they learned your class like 10, 15 years down the road. That's really not the goal that we should set out. It's what are the most fundamentally important things that you can take out of this course and apply in a real world setting. I don't think every student they're not gonna leave my learning class and be like, I know what blocking is, or I know what sensory preconditioning is. Those are just terms that they're gonna learn. But the idea is, how can you use this and apply it to your actual life? Or how can you take principles of reinforcement learning and use it to make changes in your life? So you can set up like little activities to help them, you know, it's like identify problematic behavior and then use shaping and chaining to actually change that behavior. And then talk about it, like write a journal or something. So I know it's very specific to like my field, but a lot of fields we can try to have students create something. That's really the idea. It's once again moving away from summative assessment to formative assessment, and then provide guidance, mentoring as they go through the semester.
That guidance and mentoring they're so important, and I know that you know, is in leading in place, our department chairs are heavily focused on mentorship, and we need to have those discussions about those practices of how can we lead through mentorship, and how can we ensure that our faculty are prepared to be mentored, and then to mentor others as well. Thanks, Justin. Ashley?
Yeah, I totally agree with Justin. Those applied experiences are critical for the complete academic experience now. Students really appreciate like workshopping and getting those practical skills. And then, you know, having that experience before even entering careers. But I also think department and faculty, we have to be really intentional about what skills we want students to learn in programs and classes. And we're working to do this right now in my department. We're finding those CPE skills that we're doing well and we're mapping them onto our curriculum, and we're training faculty to be much more intentional, much more explicit when they thread those themes into how they're discussing what they're teaching, how they're presenting their course content. We're working to tie CPE skills into our program student learning outcomes, using those CPE skills to kind of help operationalize those how statements for our SLOs. I think a lot of us as faculty are doing this, but we're maybe not intentional in our conversations with students about it. And those students need to hear all the awesome stuff they're learning and how they can apply that in the workplace. We have a culminating class. I know we all have these, a CUE, and we're building career pathways modules into those to reinforce those CPE skills throughout the curriculum, but then kind of mastering it and reinforcing it in these culminating classes. We're working in things like workshopping, CV and resume building, mock interviews, mini applied industry mentor projects, really trying to kind of in the classroom show them how they're already connecting to those skills and how they're going to be able to talk about them when they go into the workforce.
Yeah, that part's really good. Like we have a career planning class for psychology majors. I'm actually teaching it this semester for the first time.
Nice.
And so yeah, that's just letting students know what can you actually do with this degree? Like what are realistic job expectations? As I mentioned, very few of our students actually go into clinical psychology. So it's like, well, how can you go into business or how can you go into a neuroscience, like research type job? And so what I've tried to do is I have guests come in like every other day that are in those fields. So because I tell my students, I'm like, networking, it is crucial to meet people. You never know how meeting one person will change the trajectory of your career and your life. So.
Thank you so much for those ideas. And Kevin's going to guide us through a final question, which will lead us into the leadership philosophy.
Thank you, Rusty. And for everybody here, having a leadership philosophy is key to leadership development. How would you complete the following statement? My leadership philosophy is, therefore, I. So I guess we will begin with Renee.
I put my leadership philosophy is to lead with clarity, compassion, and accountability. And I put accountability. I'll tell you why I put accountability. Because I put accountability because I truly believe if you're accountable, then you can change things, right? If you take accountability. Therefore, I create environments where people feel supported, expectations are clear, and excellence becomes the norm.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Ashley?
Let's see. My leadership philosophy is that I'm a strong advocate of the teacher-scholar model of higher education, integrating research excellence with a commitment to student learning and mentorship. Therefore, I include students in all aspects of my research process, from the fieldwork to the data collection to the publication process. I support programs and I encourage faculty in my department to train students to be lifelong learners, and to prepare them for careers by providing intensive mentoring, hands-on fieldwork-based experiences, and to offer research opportunities as critical components of effective pedagogy.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Justin?
My leadership philosophy focuses on creating an environment in which faculty and staff feel that their current work is personally fulfilling. Therefore, I will work to maintain high morale, as I believe morale is critical for increasing faculty and staff retention, which better enables our students to succeed. This means I'll ensure equitable workload, listen to and act based on individuals' needs, and provide consistent and constructive feedback.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Justin. And thank you all. And that is the last question, the last official question that we have for our panel. And Rusty, do you want to bring us into the conversation stage?
Absolutely. And we are at time here as well. I want to thank our panelists for agreeing to join us this afternoon to talk about academic quality and the ways that we can prepare faculty for the future. I think the leadership philosophy question and that discussion is a wonderful way to conclude this afternoon's session. Thanks so much to our panelists and to all of you for joining us here, especially late afternoon on a Friday. I'd like to ask a favor, though, of our panelists, if you'll stick around. I know that we're at 4 o'clock, but I want to turn it over to Sheila to see if there are any items that need to be discussed before we conclude.
No, nothing else. Thank you all very much for being here. Thank you, Kevin and Rusty. Thank you, Ashley and Justin and Renee. Renee, you're doing double duty for us as a mentor and a panelist. So we appreciate you all very much. Rusty, you can go ahead and close it out.
All right, everyone. Thank you again. We've enjoyed working with you, and hopefully you're taking away insights that you can use immediately as you go back to your institutions. And thanks so much to our panelists. We'd like to ask our panelists to stick around. We want a group photo of the panelists, Sheila, if that's okay.
Yeah.
To everyone else, enjoy the rest of your Friday. Thank you again, and looking forward to seeing you soon in a future FLA session. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
All right. Thanks so much to our panelists, and we had a great group and a good discussion. And John, thank you. Just saw your post to the chat. Very nice to see you again. All right. Sheila, maybe we could do a grid really quick. Can we do the pin so we could get people into
Yes,
into
like the
position?
spotlight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever
yeah.
you did worked fantastic.
Yeah, I was like, I don't really want to be in your group photo, but I'm afraid the meeting will end if I leave. So.
Well, you are in the photo. You are crucial to the photo. I'm gonna try doing this, and I think I have successfully done this, and we'll get it posted to maybe LinkedIn. All right, everybody, on a count of 3, smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I think it turned out fantastic. Such a photogenic group of.
Do I gotta share screen here or what?
Good. I just came out of the field, so I wasn't sure if I smell not so great.